Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to the final lecture on the very important chapter Anatomy in Flowering Plants. And today we are going to discuss about the last part of the chapter, that is the secondary growth in plants. So in lecture number 1, we discuss about the different classification of tissues based on the position, function, location, everything. Then secondly, we done about xylem and phloem in detail. What are the components that is coming under complex permanent tissue? We studied in detail. In third lecture, we studied about the ground tissue system in detail, about the epidermal tissue system, ground tissue system, and finally the vascular tissue system. And in the fourth lecture, we discussed about the anatomy of a monocot and dicot, stem, roots, and leaves. And this is going to be a final lecture, that is a secondary growth in plants, which is going to be our lecture number 5. And we are going to discuss about this in our class. So let's move with today's class. Those who are brand new to the channel, don't forget to join our Telegram channel with the link t.me/neat_biopoint. And watching the session, don't forget to hit the like button, do share the video to your friends and subscribe the amazing platform for more updates on biology. And today at 8:30 p.m. you will have the PYQs. Okay, very important session. Please do attend the session. PYQs on the anatomy of flowering plants, AHA slides quiz. Exactly like the Menti quiz, you will have questions, 30 seconds timer, 30 questions each. We'll do all the questions at the stretch. I will just give you a brief idea on how to just do the AHA slides quiz, those who doesn't know about this. Our older students might know what is this AHA slides and how to join all those. But those who are brand new to the channel, you must know about the quiz platform. I will show you, have a brief idea on the same. You have to first of all go to Google. You have to search ahaslides.com. Then you have to understand, then a page like this opens. This is actually what have been mentioned in your mobile phone. Then on the above of the page, you will find a code over there. Okay, ahaslides.com. You can join by entering the 6-digit code that have been given on the screen at the time of the class. Okay, so this is actually what have been mentioned. So this is the area where you have to just enter your code and you have to start it out. So let's get started with today's class on the topic secondary growth. So mainly in a plant you will see two different types of growth. Okay, two different types of growth, that is primary growth and secondary growth. What do you mean by the primary growth? Primary growth means growth of the root and stem in length due to apical meristem is called primary growth. What is primary growth? Increase in the length of the plant due to apical meristem is called the primary growth. Whereas secondary growth is the increase in girth of the dicot plant. It's very important to note over here, it is a dicot. So from here you have to understand a very important point, that is primary growth is actually the property of both monocots and dicots, whereas secondary growth is actually the properties associated with dicots and gymnosperms. Clear? So that's a very important point which you must study from here. Coming on to, there are two lateral meristem. That is, number one is the vascular cambium. Second one is the Cork cambium. So which are the two? Vascular cambium. Second one is the Cork cambium. Okay. So I hope you get the points. What is primary growth? What is secondary growth? And what are the two different lateral meristem that helps in the secondary growth? Vascular cambium and Cork cambium. So you have to understand that primary growth is associated with both monocots and dicots, and it is associated with increasing the length of the plant. And you have to understand what is secondary growth. Secondary growth is associated only with dicot and gymnosperms, and it is associated with increase in the girth or width of the plant. Firstly, we have to learn about two things. That is, first we have to discuss what is vascular cambium, and secondly we have to discuss what is a Cork cambium. So first we are about to discuss what is a vascular cambium. Vascular cambium means it is a meristematic layer that cuts off vascular tissues like xylem and phloem. So what is vascular cambium? It is actually a patch of meristematic layer that cuts off the vascular tissues such as xylem and phloem. So the meristematic layer, which actually cuts to form vascular tissues like xylem and phloem, is actually referred to as the vascular cambium. In young stem, it is present as patches as a single layer between xylem and phloem. Okay. In case of young stem, you will find cambium is present. Xylem and phloem, in between the xylem and phloem as a single patch, you will find what cambium will be seen. Coming on to the formation of a cambial ring, how is this ring formed? How is this ring formed? How is it formed? In dicot stems, cambium between primary xylem and primary phloem. So the cambium which is present between the xylem and the phloem in a dicot stem is known as the intrafascicular cambium. What is it? Intrafascicular. Intra, very important. Intrafascicular cambium. The cells of the medullary rays adjoining the intrafascicular cambium become meristematic and form interfascicular cambium. So some of the medullary rays will convert the intrafascicular cambium, become meristematic and form interfascicular cambium. Thus, a continuous ring of cambium is formed between two things. Okay, that is inter between. So it is formed in between. Thus, completing a continuous ring of cambium is formed. Is that clear? Is that clear for everybody? So we discussed about the vascular cambium. Vascular cambium is a patch of meristematic layer that cuts off primary xylem and phloem. That cuts off the xylem and the phloem, and in the young stem you will find the cambium is present. Therefore, you will call them as vascular bundle over there in a stem as an open because cambium is present. And where do you find this vascular cambium and cambial ring formation? In a dicot stem you will find it out. You might have heard about just counting the age of a tree by counting the number of annual ring. We will learn about what is annual ring, how are annual rings formed, and everything. Okay. Yes. Cambial ring becomes active and cut off new cells. Cambial ring becomes active and cuts off new cells both towards the inner and the outer sides. Suppose this is a cambium. I'm just illustrating it with a diagram. This is a cambium, you imagine. So this cambium will mature and it will start dividing into inner side and towards the outer side. So this can be called as the outside and this can be called as the inside. Okay, it starts dividing to outside and it starts dividing inside also. The cells cut off towards the pith. What is pith? Pith means towards the inner side, right? So this is the pith, right? So towards the inner side, that is a pith. You will call them as the secondary xylem, and that's away from the pith. You will call them as the secondary phloem. Very important. Very, very important. Clear? In case of the secondary growth, secondary xylem will develop towards, look, this is a secondary xylem. Secondary xylem will develop towards the pith and secondary phloem will be away from the pith or towards the periphery. Clear? Suppose if we are taking like this, and we call this as the pith and this as the periphery. Just imagine we call number one as the pith and second one as the periphery. You will learn that secondary xylem are formed towards this pith. Okay, the secondary xylem are formed towards the pith, whereas the secondary phloem are formed towards the periphery. I hope the red, green and yellow color are perfectly fine for everybody. Clear? So cambium is more active on the inner side than on the outer side. As a result, more secondary xylem is produced than secondary phloem, and it soon forms a compact mass. So what are the points that we discussed from over here? We discussed about the differences between a primary growth and a secondary growth. The secondary growth is going to increase the girth of the plant, and it involves two lateral meristem, vascular cambium and the Cork cambium. Now we are going to discuss about the vascular cambium. Vascular cambium will actually becomes mature. It is actually a layer of meristematic layer which cuts off xylem and phloem. On maturation, what happens? The cambial ring will start dividing towards the inner side and towards the outer side. Towards the pith, it will divide to form secondary xylem, and away from the pith or towards the periphery, it will divide to form the secondary phloem. Cambial activity is more active towards the inner side. That is, more secondary xylem will be formed as compared to the secondary phloem. As a result, what happens? A compact mass of xylem will be formed very earlier. Is that clear? And this continuation, the continued formation and accumulation of secondary xylem, I told you the cambial activity will be more active towards the inner side or towards the pith. That is, more secondary xylem will be formed as compared to the secondary phloem. As a result, what happened? This continued formation and accumulation of the secondary xylem will causes a gradual crushing of the primary and secondary phloem. What? This continued formation of the xylem will actually cause a gradual crushing of the primary and secondary phloem. However, primary xylem will remain intact in and around the center. At some places, cambium forms a narrow band of parenchyma which passes through the secondary xylem and secondary phloem in radial direction. So at certain places, you will find that what you will find, a narrow band of parenchyma tissue will be present which passes through the secondary xylem and phloem in the radial direction, which you will call them as the secondary medullary ray. This is a previous year MCQ question. Any type of statement type questions can be asked from this area. So that is actually a common question from this area. Instead of asking you simply the name, like multiple choice question, even as a one word, they'll be asking you statement type questions in order to make you confused. Clear? Next, we have to learn about what two types of cambial activity due to the change in the physiological and environmental factors. Okay, due to the change in the physiological and environmental factors, there are two types of wood, that is spring wood and autumn wood. Spring wood and autumn wood. What is actually spring wood? Spring wood is, I'll tell you once again about the same. Spring wood and autumn wood is what we are actually going to study. In the spring season, cambium activity is very active. Cambium is very active during the spring season. It produces many ciliary elements, that is, it produces many xylem elements having vessels with wider cavity. You will be asked the differences between this. You will be asked to write the differences between the same. You have to write, in case of the spring season, cambium activity is very active. Many ciliary elements are produced having vessels with wider cavity. This wood is known as which is formed during the spring season when the cambial activity is very high, where the woods, that is the ciliary elements having wider vessels are formed, is known as spring wood or early wood. Next point which you have to by heart over here. What is the speciality or peculiarity of the spring wood or early wood? It is lighter in color. Next point. It is lighter in color and it have a lower density. What are the points? It is lighter in color and it has a lower density. Done, everybody. So just repeat it along with me. What is a springwood? Springwood means it is actually formed in the season of spring, where the cambium is very active during that period. Okay, and many ciliary elements having vessels with wider cavities. Clear, everyone? So during the spring season, the cambial activity will be very high. So it will form more ciliary elements with wider cavity. This wood is actually known as a springwood or early wood. And what is the peculiarity? The springwood or early wood, they are lighter in color and have a lower density. Coming on to the winter season, when we enter the winter season, you will find the cambium is less active and forms fewer ciliary elements having narrow vessels. This is not called winter wood, it is called late wood or autumn wood, which is darker in color and have a higher density. Clear? Yes, I hope it's perfectly fine for each one of you over here. So the differences between spring wood, early wood, autumn wood and late wood. So 4 terms we have studied over here and 4 different properties also we studied. Clear? So these two woods appear as alternate concentric ring, that is one, then towards the inner part another one, then inside to that another one, just inside to that another one. So that is actually in a concentric manner, it will get arranged to form an annual ring, and by counting the number of annual ring you can estimate the age of a tree, just like this. Counting the number of this ring, you will be able to identify what the age of a tree. Just this is the annual ring. By counting the number of annual ring, you will be able to estimate the age of the tree. So you have to study these points: spring wood or early wood, lighter. So they can ask which wood is lighter in color and have a lower density. It is spring wood or early wood. Which is higher density and darker in color? It is a winter season wood formed during the winter season. That is a autumn wood or the late wood. And they will together form the annual ring arranged concentrically each other alternatively, which is used to determine the age of a tree. Is that clear? Is this clear for everybody? Next. So that is all about that we have studied over here. Next we have to study about what? Next we have to study about the heartwood. Next we have to study about the hardwood. What is actually hardwood? Hardwood is nothing but it is a hard, dead, dark brown colored, highly lignified part, non-functional central part of the secondary xylem. What is it? It is a hard, dead, dark brown colored lignified part which is non-functional central part of the secondary xylem. So I'll just zoom the image for you. Just when you cut down a tree, you will find different layers. The outermost will be like very light dark, but towards the inner part that will be very highly brown color. So that is actually the hardwood. So we learned about the springwood, we learned about the autumn wood, we learned about the early late wood, and now we are going to learn about the hardwood. The dark color is due to the deposition of organic compounds like tannin, resin, oil, gums, aromatic substances, essential oil, etc. These substances will make it hard and durable, resistant to the attack of microorganism and insect, and its main function is the mechanical support to the stem. Okay. Is this clear? So you have to just by heart read out this, then only you will understand that. There is no other point so by which I can make you understand this. This is just common sense reading will make you understand this. Okay, so what is hardwood? It is a dark brown colored central part of the wood, which due to which it is very highly dark brown in color. And what is a contributing towards it is dark color, tannin, resin, oil, gums, aromatic substances, essential oils, and everything. And this is actually the part which makes it durable, hard, and resistant to the attack of microorganisms. Coming on to the sapwood, it is actually present on the peripheral region of the secondary xylem. I have told you this as well. The sapwood means this is the sapwood which is actually formed on the peripheral region. Told you lighter in color. It conducts water and minerals from the root to the leaf. It is actually conducting the water and minerals from the root to the leaf. So these are the differences between hardwood means it is dark brown in color. Sapwood means it is lighter in color. It is light colored. Clear? Next, we have to learn three important terms. That is, look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slides left out. So we have to just complete it out. Next is a cork cambium or the phloem. What is cork cambium or the phloem? As the stem increases in the girth, that is, as the width of the plant increases, due to the vascular cambium, the cortical layer and the epidermis layer get broken. That is a very natural process. Right? Just imagine you have bought a shirt. You have bought a shirt and you're wearing that. When you eat too much, what happened? And suddenly after 2 to 3 years, you become very, very fat. Very immediately, you turn from skinny to fat, and you won't be able to wear that. If you just keep everything, you will stop your breath and you will just wear that. And when you start breathing, what happened? Oh, due to your increase in the width or increase in your fat or increase in your body size, what happens? The shirt has become thin. So the outer layers, that is the buttons, is actually the part which is actually connecting the both sides. So as you grow, you won't be able to pin it together. So it will start breaking out. Right. So exactly like that. As the stem increases in its width or increases in the girth, the outer layer like epidermis and outer cortical layer will start breaking out. And what happened? You definitely have to get it replaced. So you'll go and buy a new shirt according to your new body pattern, right? So exactly like that. In case of plants also, when the layers will break down, it will have to replace it and provide new protective layer. So another meristematic tissue develops in the cortex region, and it is called the Cork cambium or the phloem. What you will call them? You will call them as the Cork cambium or the phloem. Clear? So what is the meristematic tissue that develops in the cortex after the outer cortical and epidermis layer gets broken out? You will call them as the Cork cambium or the phloem. Phloem is a couple of thick layers which is made up of narrow, thin-walled and nearly rectangular cells. Done? So just remember the term Phlogen. Phlogen. Bookmark this term right now. What is phlogen? It is Cork cambium. Okay, it is actually Cork cambium. Coming on to the next one, that is, I told you we have to study. We have to study in detail about the phlogen. Phloem will cut on both sides. The outer cell will differentiate into cork or phloem. The outer side will develop into what? Phloem or the cork. Just look at here, guys. Just look at here. This dark brown color is the cork cambium or the phloem. The phloem will cut towards the outer side into phloem or the cork and towards the inner side into phloderm or secondary cortex. Okay, suppose guys this is the phloem. The phloem will cut towards the outer side as the cork or the phloem and towards inner side as the phloderm or secondary cortex. I will just give you an idea about the same. Just write it down, everybody. So this is how it cuts towards the outer part, and this is how it's going to cut towards the inner part. Okay, just imagine. Okay, just imagine this. The middle portion you will call them as what? You will call them as phloem, as I have already told you. I'm not calling it by the common name like Cork cambium, cork, and the secondary cortex. You must study that as well. Phloem will cut towards the outer side as phloem, and towards the inner side you will call them as what? Phloderm. What is phloderm? Secondary cortex. What is phloem? It is the cork. The cells of the secondary cortex are parenchymatous in nature, and the cork is impervious to water due to suberin deposition. Finally, you will have to learn that phloem, phloem, and phloderm together you will call them as what? Periderm. What you will call them? You will call them as periderm. Phloem, phloem, and phloderm together you will call them as what? Look, all these structures together known as it is phloem, phloem, and phloderm together known as periderm. Clear, everybody? So phloem plus phloem plus phloderm, you will call them as the periderm. Next, we have to learn about the bark. Bark is actually a non-technical term used to refer all tissues, that is periderm and secondary phloem outer to the vascular cambium. Bark is of two types: early bark or soft bark and late or hard bark. Early bark means that are formed early in the season. Late bark means that is to form towards the end of the season. So that's only the meaning over there. Lenticels, very important, a very common one. This diagram is a previous year MCQ question. This diagram was a previous year MCQ question. At certain region, the phloem cut loosely arranged parenchymatous cells on the outer side. These cells like this, it will rupture and forms lens-shaped cells called lenticels, which occur in most woody tree. It will help in the gaseous exchange. Okay, it will help in the process of gaseous exchange. Clear? Clear, everyone? Yes. Secondary growth in roots. In dicot root, vascular cambium is completely secondary in origin. It originates from the tissue just below the phloem bundles above the protoxylem, forming wavy ring. It becomes circular. No question is going to come from this area. Only a small portion can come. That is, secondary growth also occurs in the stem and roots of gymnosperms. So which are the two plants where you will find the secondary growth? It will be in the Dicotyledonous plant, and you will find them in the gymnosperms. Clear? Clear, everybody? It will never occur in the monocotyledonous plant. So it won't occur in the monocotyledonous plant. Okay? Yes. So that's all about this amazing chapter, anatomy in flowering plants. 1 week we have completed. In the upcoming week, we will be learning about neural control and coordination. Okay, neural control and coordination, which is a very important lengthy chapter, but zero questions have come from that chapter for this NEET 2021. Okay. Okay. Yes. Once again, I am showing you the schedule for the same. You will be having the previous year question. You will have the previous year. You'll have the previous year questions on anatomy of flowering plants, AHA slides, quizzes today sharp at 8:30 p.m. And also, you have to understand the following. That is, you have to go to Google. You have to search ahaslides.com, and you will be directed to the login page. There you have to enter the code, and you have to just enter the specified 6-digit code that have been mentioned by me on the screen at 8:30 p.m. You have to join the session. Okay, guys. So bye bye, guys. See you in the next class with yet another super amazing session sharp at 8:30. I will see you. Bye bye, guys.